when you step back for a second and you think about like what is an app store, we tend to sort of look at them kind of monolithically, but if you think about it from a services perspective, it's really identity, billing, ads, and apps, or ads and marketing and apps. And then there's some ancillary supporting services, the onboarding of apps, for example, validation. But as like a set of sort of cloud and client services, a relationship between client software and cloud software, it's a combination of those things. So a lot of what we're doing when we think about this, moving into this sort of more service-centric kind of model is, okay, factoring our existing product line into a set of services. And right now, sort of, clearly from an AppUp perspective, those services have typically been those. How did we get here in the first place? We had a formula, and the formula went something like, is this thing that we're looking at a clear consumer need or want? Like, would we make people happy? Find some Peter's first rule of consumer businesses: find someone to make them really happy, right? So, are we doing that? Are we fulfilling that rule? Secondly, and this is a difference when you're Intel, how you think about sort of problem solving. Are there other people who, when we solve that problem, can benefit too? Like, do we have fellow travelers? The third is, probably change the text on that. Is the way I would say success is based on improving someone's experiences. Are we making the world a better place? Like, can you unambiguously look at it and go, yeah, actually, we are. Like, we're doing something fundamentally useful. Is there a threat of consolidation? So if you look at the marketplace and you go, okay, so you think you can make somebody happy, there seems to be a community that wants you to do something in this space. We do this for apps, for app stores. Do we think we can make the world a better place? Like, does this affect your approach? You could try to do it this way or this way or this way or this way. What way still makes users happy? What way still helps developers, partners, curators? But is all of that at threat to no one being able to add substantial value because the market's consolidating? Some of the words you hear when you hear people talk about this are words like lockout. Like, is there a threat that someone is going to erect either a soft or a hard barrier to you entering a market, or entering a market in a way that is sufficiently open for you to be successful? And then last but not least, of course, is, are there good business opportunities in that market? So what are the business opportunities? And we think this is a bundle. Right? So when we look at the problem, like when we think, are there good business opportunities? Are there good business opportunities for everybody? Because we want to find some people, make them happy. We want to deliver great developer services. We want to make the world a better place. We do look around and think, where might something happen that will prevent us from moving forward, or from doing interesting and cool and even cooler things in the future? If you look back at the PC industry, one of the ways the PC industry has been substantially different from, for example, the communication and the communication device industry, is that we've been able to rely on sort of the system to be sufficiently open. Like, anybody who works on Linux will simply state emphatically and reasonably that Windows is not open. But Windows was sufficiently open. You didn't have to sign a license to write to the Win32 API. If you had to sign a license, like you have to sign a license to put an app into an app store, you have to think, that now there's a barrier. Is there consolidation coming that could change my future experience? And what we're now doing is taking this criteria and we're applying it to other services. So we take these 5, I'm going to tell you exactly how we're doing it, right? We're taking these 5 criteria and we're looking at every service that we surfaced up and that we think is potentially very interesting. And we're applying that template and we're saying, what must we invest in? Like, what is unequivocally something based on those 5 things that we have got to do? What should we build on our own versus what can we afford to wait and do it our way? Should we partner? Should we buy? Should we, work with the ecosystems so we can have thousands of flowers bloom? And in particular, we're really on the lookout for this consolidation word. We're looking to think, if we go slow, can we afford to be slow? We were actually arguably early on app stores on PCs. Not actually, I would say inarguably, right? Since we went live, Apple's come live, Microsoft has now announced their store in Windows 8, so we were kind of ahead of the curve on that one. But are there waves about to crash down on important service areas that might cause consolidation effects that make it hard to be successful? If you're not going to be able to elbow your way into that market. And when I say you, is sort of everybody, right? Because we want huge network effects around the stuff we do. When we talk about, Kim talked about the consumer services business. From our perspective, we want network effects on those. We want, we want to be the sort of not just we'll do some consumer services like app stores, but we want other people to have all of the assets in the form of services and tools to do their own consumer services. Do your own apps, do your own content, do your own direct-to-consumer service, do your own subscription service, whatever. So we've been looking around for the past year. What are the things that we think meet these criteria? And in particular, are there any that are so sensitive to potential consolidation that we think we need to act in a dramatically accelerated fashion? We think location is interesting, so we applied these questions to location. Do consumers enjoy and need location experiences? I think we can probably all agree that yes, right? You can certainly find some users and make them happy in location. Do developers want great location services and APIs? I think that for a class of apps, that's inarguably true, of course. Like, who doesn't want better context about exactly where the device is, exactly where the user is, where they're going, what they're doing, what's around them, right? And that's like a total no-brainer. And actually, the more we've been thinking about this, the more we've been realizing that we're not even. There was the quote, it's the Churchill quote. It's not the beginning of the end, but maybe the end of the beginning. I think in location, there's a tremendous number of really cool opportunities that are actually impossible today. If you actually start thinking about how you do location in your life, like, who here has printed a Google map in the past year and knows someone who has? Like, what? Why in the world does it work that way? Right? Aren't we like in this millennium chiseling, right there with a chisel, cold chiseling our own directions? So are there things about location that make the world a better place? Absolutely. There was a talk that talked specifically to this. I can't remember here about the use of location as a service to do social services. I'm blanking on what it was, but it sounded like it was a really cool talk. Are there great business opportunities? Those are quite clear. Is the market consolidating? There are really two major providers of location, and then there's a bunch of very interesting sort of verticals opportunities in location. But if you look at the number of licenses that you have to take to be in the location stack, top to bottom, participant in the location stack, there are at least 4 licenses you have to get through to get from silicon to the end user experience in the location stack. But 4, that's a lot, right? And there's only a couple of those, and they both have these, and we're starting to see some interesting acquisitions around location. Anybody notice that Google bought Zagat? You guys are the Zagats. So we bought Telmap. And I would like to invite Oren on stage, who's the CEO of Telmap.
Hey. So we're really excited to be here today. We're really excited to join the Intel AppUp family. And one of the reasons that we're really excited is because for us it's really the next real step in the strategy we started about 10 years ago. One of the arguments, one of the talking points that we had along the way was around the fact that location is actually broken. So you cannot actually utilize location in a great way between two apps. You cannot do it between two people if you're using two different phones. Because if, for example, one's using an Android with Google Maps and the other one's using Nokia, those two things just don't know how to talk to one another. So, one of the things that we did when we started early on was we went out to operators and said, we want to create a service platform that works across your devices, and basically we're going to deploy a client app that would work across those devices and then get everybody talking to one another. And that worked great for us as a business. Now, with this joint approach, we want to give this to everybody. So we want to open up those APIs and basically allow for location to become this seamless thing that you could transact on, switch between applications, switch between people, and get this to be really, really a core service layer of AppUp moving forward. So we're really looking forward to it, and hope for some good news going forward. Thanks.
I think this is so cool. How many customers do you guys have again?
Users?
Yeah, how many users? How many?
Approaching 7 million.
More than 6 million? Wow, that didn't take very long. That's cheating, though. I know it's cheating. We don't count them yet as AppUp customers. We look forward to counting them as AppUp customers, but we don't count them as AppUp customers yet. Two reasons I'm super excited about what Telmat brings into the AppUp family. First of all, they do kick-ass consumer product. They've been doing it for 10 years. Right? Clearly, one of the pieces of feedback that we got and that I expressed, I think I said something like, we haven't performed as well at some things in the past year as we have at others. Yeah, that's the exact quote, right? But it's really nice to have someone in the family now who has thrived, lived, and died on their ability to make users, to find users and make them really happy. Step one, find users, make them really happy. And location is a really personal thing. It's one of those great things that you keep coming, because you keep coming back to it, and you need it to perform in specific ways. When it doesn't perform, if you get run off of the road, or it brings you to the wrong place, or it's just like it's tragic failure. It's it's worse than like an app crashing or a blue screen or something. God bless my former employer. That's good. I haven't gotten one of those in yet. But it's a very personal experience, and that's one of the reasons that it's also interesting. Find some users, make them really happy. Telmat has been doing this for 10 years. The other half of the equation that I'm even more excited about is the potential opportunity, the opportunity that we're going to be bringing to the AppUp family through location. And I think Oren was talking about some very specific things that when you think about it, you're like, okay, I can share an URL today, basically between anything, but I can't share a location. Right? You take a location from Bing Maps, can you share it with Google Maps? If you use a location platform, you're thus automatically choosing sides. Right? And that's a fundamental problem, an issue that needs to get solved. But if you dig into it even deeper, you realize that is constraining, and this is why this notion of looking around at the services we want to invest in and bring to the community, it's constraining creativity. There are simple little scenarios. Wouldn't it be cool if you didn't have to shell out of your app to actually show someone directions? You spent all this time creating a beautiful, crafted experience. That's what everybody here does. You want to find some users and make them happy. That's what you do. And then all of a sudden, just to do this one little thing, to get someone from A to B, or give them some context, or give them an offer, or help them find something. Now all of a sudden you're not finding users and making that user happy anymore because they're not in your app anymore. Like they're gone. And so we think that there's a tremendous set of opportunities around how do we take this fundamental technology called location and build it into AppUp so that the AppUp community can use location as a great set of assets in addition to all of the other cool things you do to sort of drive the success of your experiences and your businesses forward. And so now now we can expand. We've expanded. What is AppUp? Well, AppUp in the App Store yesterday was identity billing ads and apps. Now it's identity billing ads, apps, and location. We're going to be using this exact same formula to think about what we do next, where we go next, how we invest, what we build ourselves. What we clearly want to get to is get to a place where we are providing the core cloud and client services that span sort of a value set where we don't think we need to invest in like new things about how to build a window, right? I mean there's no real consolidation happening in windowing or putting pixels on the screen, but our opportunity. But when we look at, for example, curation, what are the component parts of curation that are have significant value add? We're going to be using the same formula. And one of the things we're also going to be looking at is are there threats of consolidation happening? And is what the business fundamentally founded on some principles of find some users and make them happy, look for fellow travelers, make the world a better place, dodge the bullet of getting locked out of a really awesome opportunity or set of markets, and we want to help you do that, right? We think that by bringing Telmap in, we can, over time, be giving you location that means you can have, like, open shareable POIs, right? Wouldn't that be cool? So I could use Urban Spoon to look up something, and you could use Yelp, and they'd work together. That would be neat. But that doesn't exist today. So we'll be looking at the rest of these and thinking about the opportunities in all of them. But we think location was a critical one. We're super happy. I'm just like giddy. Super happy to have it on board. And by the way, Fresh Ink, right? It's a signed deal. It's not closed. It's going to close, but I don't have an SDK to hand you. I will. We will. We will have services to hand you. Stay tuned. Okay, so 2 more things and then we're done, and we can go drinking. This is based on the feedback we've heard from you. A, we think we need to be better at listening to your feedback and recognizing that we're getting it. I heard from multiple people comments that I told you this a year ago. I told someone a year ago. 6 months ago I said this. How can it be news to you? You're in charge. So we are going to have a feedback mechanism that is going to let everybody with an IADP write anything they want for feedback. Wow, I think this thing is succulent. Ha! Tweet that. We are going to provide a voting mechanism on that, and then once a month we are going to provide you with here are what the top requests are, here's what you told us, and here's our opinion on it. I'm not stupid. We don't get to crowdsource the feature set, right? It's not a democracy, but if we think if we choose to not to prioritize something that we think we need to do over something that you think we should do, we're going to tell you. And we're going to tell you why. And when we can't tell you why, we'll tell you we can't tell you why. That's the best we can do. Actually, I'm sure we can do better, but that's where we're starting. So we're going to do that a monthly blog. That'll come out every month. We're going to do the first one in October. We'll go live with the process. I expect there'll be bumps and hiccups along the way, but we will start in October and we'll learn as we go. But I really don't want to be in a place a year from now where we've been telling you over and over and over and over again that you can't do it this way and it's stupid, and have you go, oh, I'm sorry. So we're going to fix that. Secondly, transparency around the process. First of all, we're going to start documenting every single change we make to the system that affects how interfaces work, how the system works when you roll new stores out. That's planned and unplanned. So unplanned are like we get a bug fix we have to take, like a critical security fix or something. We're going to roll that. We're not going to ask for anybody's permission. We're just going to do it. We'll tell you about it afterwards. We prompt a change. Here's what it was. In the case of like things like security, we can tell you it's security and we don't want to document it because we're worried about legacy or lag time or whatever, but we'll tell you. And for plan, okay, coming up this Friday or over the weekend, we're planning on doing this. We're going to tell you. Secondly, clearly getting, I think we're clearly not providing enough contextual information about how AppUp is being distributed, how it's being marketed, and what is in place for it. So we are going to give you ongoing status on what our store deals are, where the pre-installs are, sightings in the wild. I want us to go, hey, this version of Ultrabook just hit Best Buy. It's got AppUp on it, right? You can go see it now. We're going to do that, sort of pushing it out. But I think with the feedback mechanism, I encourage us to also use that coming back, right? Because sometimes we don't even know. Right, so if you run into a system that we haven't told you has AppUp on it and it's got to let us know. Right? Take a picture of it. Buy it. Take a picture of it. And then last but not least, we're going to do a product ticker that includes at least two things: outages. Is the system up right now? If it is, how long has it been up? And that's going to be ongoing. And then last but not least, user acquisition. So we told you how succulent we were on user acquisition. We've got a goal at 6 million. We're going to have a 6 million user ticker. You guys can all see it. You can all see how you're moving it. You can see how we're moving it. And going forward, we're going to look to that as being, this is how we're going to measure our success. We need to go out and get users. It's our job, right? We know that. I think we have the tools and the means in place to go do that. I think that with you helping us make the product and the portfolio of offerings that are on top of AppUp better, that will absolutely help us get to those 6 million users. At some point, we'll welcome some Telemap users into the family. That's a nice little bonus. But I was actually mostly being utterly cheeky when I included that. But part of what we will be doing over the coming year is looking at consumer verticals that we can bring into the family and we can put on this platform. They start using our identity service. They start incorporate the billing, right? Then they're part of the AppUp family. And I want to close on this one last thought. That there's been a lot of discussion around the really awesome demos that Microsoft did at Windows 8. There's been discussion around what the App Store in Windows 7. Amazon has done this Fire tablet, which is a fascinating sort of look into sort of where they're going with some really cool App Store stuff. If you view it from a services perspective and you think of a store as being a combination of those 4 services as a minimum, and then you make all those services cloud-based HTML widgets or JS code that can be embedded in any app, then what's an app store? Like if any app can hook into an in-app billing infrastructure, which we're going to be shipping in the near future, any app can use the same federated identity system that we all use. Any app can hook into the servicing and provisioning model to get content moved around, and any app can do marketing. Any app can hook into the curation service. Then, well, can't any app kind of be its own store? And I think that moving forward, that's definitely architecturally what we're thinking about. We're thinking about the opportunities. You take curation, you take the affiliate store model, you take embedded code, you take a bunch of interesting services, you bundle them together, you stick them in an app. You can put that code in an Android app that's in the Android marketplace, and now you're off and running, right? You've got these cool services. You can do that on Windows 8. You can do that all over the place. So I think that where we're focused right now is very much on getting our UI nailed. We're going to really double down and find some users, make them happy. We are going to work really hard to make sure that you have an increasingly better services experience. We're going to continue to look at opportunities for expansion into other adjacent vertical services, location being one that we just announced. and additional ones in the future. But we're also going to be thinking long-term strategically, like what does this community, what do we all need in order to sort of own our own destiny in digital distribution going forward? And that's absolutely where we're headed. So I think that's it for me.